it seems schools and colleges in the region celebrate some of their best ever results in GCSEs and A-levels. But take a closer look at those league tables and there is a more worrying picture. Secondary schools in the North East and Cumbria are below average, particularly when it comes to the achievement of children on free school meals. And this week Northumberland was criticised by Ofsted over that issue, while an inspection blitz is happening in Cumbria amid concerns about secondary schools there. So is it time for radical action? Here's Luke Walton.
Jeux vidéo. Écrivez A, B ou C, s'il vous plaît.
Parlez-vous français? These pupils in Durham certainly do, and results here at the Belmont Community School are on the up. But in other parts of the North East and Cumbria, it's a less positive picture.
There are still big issues for the North East. We still have a long way to travel in terms of matching the performance of some other regions, and particularly our challenge is around the performance of young people in receipt of free school meals, where there is a bigger gap than many other regions.
The schools inspector at Ofsted shares those concerns. It says too many of the North East and Cumbria's secondary schools are underperforming, with an above-average number judged to require improvement or put in special measures. It's particularly worried that children on free school meals are lagging behind. In the North East, only 33% achieve 5 good GCSEs, A star to C, with English and maths. In Cumbria, only 24%. The national average for children on free school meals is 36%. As the North East and Cumbria aims to improve education, one area they're looking at very closely is London and schools like this one. Here in the capital, results have gone from being among the worst in the country to among the best. And some put that down to a scheme called London Challenge.
London Challenge was about school-to-school support and offering challenge to head teachers. Initially, you know where your area for development was, and the lead advisors were able to direct you to schools in London where the expertise lay, so you could improve your school to a huge potential.
So basically it was very ambitious. It was saying there's nothing we can't do, even though we're at the bottom of the pile at the moment.
Absolutely. Those lead advisors question those head teachers to the extent where the schools have improved so much that we're now many of the leading schools in the United Kingdom.
The London Challenge ran for 8 years until 2011 and saw the biggest improvement among pupils from hard-up families. Now teachers in the North East are campaigning for a similar approach here.
I think the important thing is that we have coordination so that schools can work together, because the expertise is here already. There are maybe expertise we need to bring out from outside, but most of it's already here about raising standards and improving all the issues that we need to improve on.
I mean, you would like to see extra money from the government to help you with this?
I think it will need some extra money if it's going to be effective. We don't necessarily need the huge, we're not going to get them anyway, so let's be realistic about this, the huge sums of money. We're talking about £100 million has been spent on the London Challenge. Times are different, that's not going to happen. But we do need some additional funding if we're going to buy that time that we need for people to work together effectively.
But with Ofsted demanding rapid improvement in the region's classrooms, that time to improve may be in short supply.
Well, Luke spoke to the Schools Minister, David Laws, this week and asked him if he was worried by the performance of the region's schools.
It does worry me that some parts of the country, including some parts of the North East, have a lower proportion of good and outstanding schools than other parts of the country. We want all parents to be able to access a good or outstanding school. And where there is a shortfall in this, we need to be able to take action.
I mean, Ofsted has actually gone into Northumberland with accelerated inspections. It's so worried there. If it finds the council's at fault, would you be prepared to take action there?
Well, we certainly will take action where we hear back from Ofsted that a local authority is failing in its duties, and we've already taken action in some other parts of the country. What we would expect to do is make a judgment about whether a particular local authority is capable of improving, whether it's got a strong plan for improvement, whether it recognises the criticisms of Ofsted. If it does do those things, we might give it more time. If it doesn't, we would look at other solutions.
One wider concern that Ofsted has raised across the North East is the attainment or lack of attainment of free school meal pupils. Does that show that your pupil premium, which is a huge government investment, isn't working?
No, it certainly doesn't show that, because it's too early in many of these areas to know for sure what the impact of the pupil premium is. It's only been in a serious scale over the last couple of years. It's only increasing to its maximum size next year. We are going to expect for that extra money through the Pupil Premium to see a massive improvement in the performance of young people from more disadvantaged backgrounds. In many parts of the North East, the performance of disadvantaged youngsters is just not good enough. Something like 3/4 of young people from disadvantaged backgrounds have been failing to get even 5 good GCSEs at a grade C and above, including English and Maths. That is totally unacceptable to us, and we expect the Pupil Premium to be used to close that gap and to improve the performance for disadvantaged youngsters.
Well, who's to blame for that? Is that the schools? Is that the local authorities?
Well, look, we understand why it's difficult for schools, because often these youngsters come in through their doors without the right support in the home environment, having fallen behind even before they arrive in school. But the experience of inner London shows that even when youngsters bring into the school environment a lot of disadvantages that impede their learning, the school, if it's well led and well resourced and using the right interventions, can still do an awful lot about that. And here in London, where you're interviewing me, we've had a revolution in the performance of disadvantaged youngsters over the last 10 or 15 years, with those young people in many schools doing just as well as young people from more normal backgrounds. And that's exactly the type of improvement that we now expect to see right throughout the whole country, including in the North East.
Well, your boss, Michael Gove, has talked about a culture of low expectation, a smell of defeatism in East Durham. Do you think that's the problem in the North East?
I think sometimes there is a need. I mean, I'm not going to comment on every school or every part of the North East, because I know that there are lots of schools that do have real aspiration and passion. But I think sometimes there can be communities where there is a tradition of economic decline. There can be households where nobody's gone into higher education or to higher paid, higher skilled jobs. And sometimes the head teachers in those areas tell me that they have a terrific problem in getting aspirations at the right level. And so I think that parents and schools need to work together with the government to set much higher expectations and aspirations.
Jeremy Middleton, I mean, David Laws there. I kind of thought you ducked the question about who's to blame here. There are good schools, obviously, in the North East, but there appears to be a problem. Who or what is to blame?
Well, there are good schools, but it's a very real problem. We have lots of unemployed young people, and yet we have skills shortages. And unless we do something about it, we're going to find that those skilled jobs are taken by workers from abroad, and our own young people are left behind.
What do we need to do about it?
And we do need to have a revolution. Well, I think we need to do the sorts of things that were being suggested in the film. We certainly need a North East Schools Challenge. That was recommended by the recent review by Lord Adonis on how to improve our economy.
But without the money that was available to London, that's the problem.
There is enough money in the system. The sums of money that are required are available within the local authorities or from other sources. The important thing is it's got to be the very top of the agenda, and all of us have to be involved, because business also needs to get involved with their schools. We need to have business governors in every school, and we need businesses involved, acting as mentors, guiding the curriculum, providing apprenticeships, giving work experience, lots of things like that. We can make a real difference.
Louise Baldock, I mean, it's hard to avoid the conclusion, though, isn't it, that our councils showed the blame here, because who else has been involved consistently in this education system but them?
I just think it's very rich of David Laws to be pointing the finger all over the place, although it's ironic, isn't it, that the London Challenge, which was set up by a Labour government, is the thing that we now look to make a difference in the North East. The fact is, in the North East, there are some areas that don't perform as well as other areas, but on balance across the region, we do better than our neighbours in Yorkshire and the Humber. We've got good schools, great teachers and hard-working pupils, and this kind of thing is a slur on their work.
Where you're aspiring to be an MP in Stockton, 24% of pupils, only 24% of pupils on free school meals get those good 5 GCSEs. Are you saying we're prepared to accept that?
No, I'm not saying any such thing. I just think it's not acceptable to point the finger at councils. What we're seeing with this government
who is to blame
now...
then?
Well, I'll explain some of the things that have happened. We had David Laws there talking about how some children are arriving at school ill-prepared, and yet we see big cuts to sure starts. We're looking at underinvestment in the support services that go to schools. We've seen things like the educational maintenance allowance being scrapped so that young people aren't staying on at school when they might have done. We're seeing things like the connection service being devastated, so young people aren't getting the careers training. All of these things are contributing to and 500 fewer teachers in North East schools teaching our children.
Absolutely none of those things are exclusive to the North East. What that challenge showed, indeed set up by the...
The deprivation is worse here, isn't it? There'd be more children affected by the withdrawal of, the support.
No, it's not worse than parts of central London. And what they showed is where there is a determined focus, then there are solutions and there are improvements that can be put into place. And you asked the question several times. At the end of the day, we have to take local responsibility. I referred to how businesses need to get involved, but let us be clear.
We need to get councils out of schools.
No, local authorities who have that responsibility have to take the lead for driving a North East Schools challenge. Okay. That is what they absolutely must do. They are the ones who must provide the lead in it, but business must support.
We'll have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Now, there are some political issues